So there was not a formal change order that needed to be signed. It was more in the field, myself and Chad Piper, reviewing what with that owner,
Right.
Mr. Hummel.
But, and I mainly just bring it up from a procedural standpoint for the future, because this could be a bigger time, bigger issue the next time. But
Sure.
This is a smaller amount. So.
I looked up, just while we were talking, I looked up the purchasing policy that we have. There's nothing in there for things like this, so David and I will work to come up with some language that we can amend the purchasing policy and procedures to account for change orders, either based on percentage of project cost or dollar amount or something. We'll come up with something to bring it back. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on these items? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Curry?
Yes.
Alderman Santee?
Yes.
Alderwoman Condon?
Yes.
Alderman Devine?
Yes.
Alderman Glab?
Yes.
Alderman Mahevic?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 5D. I'm looking for a motion to approve this item. 5D through G. Alderman Curry?
I'll make that motion.
Second? Alderwoman Condon?
Yes. Second.
Thank you. Discussion on these items? Alderman Glab?
Just the fact that I will continue to pull them and take and vote no on them as long as we are not following state statute. State statute states clearly what position all of us hold, and that should be reflected in the minutes of the meetings.
Any other discussion on these items? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Curry?
Yes.
Alderwoman Condon?
Yes.
Alderman Devine?
Yes.
Alderman Glab?
No.
Alderman Mahevic?
Yes.
Alderman Santee?
Yes.
Motion passed 5-1.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is individual action item. Is discussion to approve the following agreements and resolutions for the Pearl Street Lincoln Road Improvements Project. One, construction engineering services agreement for federal participation of Bollinger Lock and Associates Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $210,765.41. 2, local agency agreement for federal participation. 3, resolution improving an intergovernmental agreement in the state of Illinois to appropriate funds for the project. 4, IDOT resolution authorizing the use of MFT funds. And 5, intergovernmental agreement with the McHenry Township for funding participation for construction improvements. Any discussion on this item by council? Alderman Glab.
Fool me once, fool me twice. Unfortunately, we've gone through this far already with the Pearl Street Lincoln project, and we need to keep moving forward. However, in light of the fact that we take a look at what we pay townships as far as road money and what small amount we get back compared to what the residents of our city pay, I don't understand why we had to spearhead all the engineering for phase 1 and 2 and that the township wasn't part of it. And I'll be bringing that up the next time that we have one of these intergovernmental agreements. Again, I figure it's well over $2.7 million that the residents of the city of McHenry pay to the townships, of which we get $600,000 or $700,000 back. And the council knows that we don't get $2 million a year every year to be able to work on streets and throw into our road programs here at the city level. And here we are, taking those tax dollars out. And again, they're not doing anything wrong, don't get me wrong. That's something that Springfield needs to work out, because we have 120 miles of road. The township has a little over 90. The other township has about 60. And it really concerns me about the fact that those roads, they talk about taking over private roads and everything else, and yet we can't take and touch some of our roads for well over 20, 25 years. So that's where I stand.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Alderman Santee?
We have to follow a statute on this, a state statute, or can we negotiate future projects on an individual project basis?
As far as the construction or the engineering services?
Well, number one, engineering. Is this a formal statute that we have to follow in regards to percentages for first and second
We are at about 8.5% of estimated construction costs, so we're on the
Yeah.
lower end.
What I'm asking is that when we have, what Alderman Glad was talking about is that when we have these combined projects where we're working, it's a city, it's a township, it's county, um, is it written somewhere where we have to, the city's always obligated for this percentage of engineering? Or is it something that could be negotiated on individual projects like this?
You
as we
can
go along?
negotiate them. That's the basis of the QBS process, is that you select the firm and then you, on a project specific basis, negotiate a specific fee based upon the hours and effort that the firm has to put in to provide those services. So yes, we can negotiate them once we've
Yeah.
selected the firm.
And when this is being negotiated, everyone's at that table, then it's gotta be in a city like yourself, representing us, and then there's someone from township, someone from county that's also sitting in there at those meetings in regards to.
Typically, it's handled between the agency that's contracting with the firm. So in this case, myself and John negotiated with Bobcat.
Because we contracted, we were the number one,
We were the lead agency.
we were the lead agency.
But I have a question, Alderman Glad. Was your question more on, getting participation from other entities that are part of this to pay for the engineering costs? It wasn't as
Rather
much
than
the
we-
amount of the engineering.
Supposedly, we're the lead, so we're paying the first entire phase 1 and 2, and I don't understand why, considering the total responsibility is not the cities, there's also the township there. And there's a portion, just like for phase 3, they're paying their portion, but phase 1 and 2, we pay the whole book.
Any other discussion by council on this item? Seeing none, I'm gonna open it up to public input. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make a public input on this item? See none, at this time, I am looking for a motion to approve the following agreements and resolutions for the Pearl Street Lincoln Road Improvements, Project 1 Construction Engineering Services Agreement for federal participation with Bollinger, Locke and Associates, Incorporated, for the amount not to exceed $210,765.41. 2, local agency agreement for federal participation. 3, resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement with the state of Illinois to appropriate funds for the project. 4, IDOT resolution authorizing the use of MFT funds. And 5, intergovernmental agreement with the McHenry Township for funding participation for construction improvements.
I'm sorry, I missed part of that. Could you repeat that?
Yeah. Motion by Alderman Santee.
Yes, I will make the motion to approve the following agreements and resolution of Pearl Street, Lincoln Road Improvement Project as presented.
Thank you. Second? Alderman McHenry.
Second.
Any other discussion on this item before? Alderman Santee.
Troy, you can pass this on to John, but yourself and staff, I mean, you guys have really, gone to bat for the city, in regards to this project, getting it going. We tried to push it through a year ago, we didn't make it, we got it this year. It's well overdue, but, I
which is already an approved event. The parade would also be on St. Patrick's Day. So that's where we landed. And then what does a timeline look like? So you have you have the shuffle that starts the day. Then that bleeds into the dyeing of the river and bringing people down and keeping people down. That leads into the parade. Once that parade ends, what do we do with the people at that point? And that's where the music fest really came in. And Mr. Hardman, that's obviously his business. It's something that we do here in town through the Blues Brews and Barbecue, through Fiesta Days, and I think it's something that we do extremely well when you look at our offerings. One of the changes is the city of McHenry taking the lead on this. We've never really been the lead. We've been kind of the collaborator. We've been the one that helps out. How do we facilitate things to happen? But in terms of taking the lead, that hasn't been our role. Through this one, that's where we've landed. Just in our communications is the lead role in that. So we looked at Saturday, the music starting after the parade, 3 until we said, as an initial request, 3 until midnight. One of the other ideas, or one of the things that's important, is bringing these people downtown and then trying to get them to move throughout the downtown. And we could allow that to happen, and I know sometimes it's a little bit of a touchy subject, by allowing open carry. So people could leave from the festival and go to a downtown business. They could enjoy a food special that we already do through the Taste of Downtown a couple of times a year, getting the people to move throughout the downtown. But defining those hours so that it's manageable for us and it's a safest possible event that we could do. So from a open carry perspective, that 10 to 6 perspective, once it hits dusk, we don't, and it just even in talks with the chief of police, it's not something that, it's something that doesn't worry us a whole lot because we do it already with sidewalk sales and we do it with the Uncorked Downtown Wine Festival. But it is something we need to take some extra precautions for, just in even proposing it to be able to say that. On Sunday was again another day for Music Fest, shorter hours, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. A couple of ideas that were also thrown out there was possibly trying to have a pancake breakfast or bringing people down there. I think the only one that I know of is the Moose Club does one through the Boy Scouts, do one up there, but it may be a good opportunity to again bring people downtown and kind of kick that day off. Live music and alcohol sales, as well as the open carry on that day, 12 to 6. With all that said, the items that needed to appear before you, or need to appear before you to ultimately be able to organize and pull this off, are the temporary use for the tent and the live music on the site, with hours that we determine, or you determine, I should say, not we determine. The actual special event liquor license for the event, the permission to allow the open carry throughout the downtown for any given period of time, whatever you decide that happens to be. The temporary road closures as are associated with any of the parades that we run in town. We do have any council action to do that. And then finally a budget amendment in the amount, and I had put just from a rough budget at this point of $20,000 by the time you account for sound stage, lighting, bands, marketing of the event, tents associated with the event, tables, chairs, all that type of thing that has to happen. Now the $20,000 is revenue that we would expect to have returned to us, or at least that would be the goal, is that we obviously that we run a break-even event. We have an opportunity to provide to an event that maybe isn't rivaled, unless you go down to the city of Chicago, Dyeing the River, a parade, and all the events that are associated with that. So by the time we sell sponsorships, by the time we have alcohol sales associated with that, and any other merchandise sales, maybe t-shirts, that type of thing, we would expect to break even, if not be ahead, on an event of this nature. And so with that structure in place and those items that would ultimately have to be approved or presented and approved to you, I would like to present this to you for discussion and have any other offerings. I don't know would any of you like to speak to the event as well? We have Kay and Kim Lowy from the Downtown Business Associated and Jackie Bergen from Visit McHenry County. All have been instrumental in trying to do something, trying to do this event.
Happy to say a couple words.
Just step to the podium.
Yeah, do you want to step to the podium?
Right here. Do you want me to go up there?
Yes, please.
Can all go together?
Yeah.
Well, you're the cool shirt.
Hey Jackie, can you state your full name for
Sure.
public record?
My name is Jackie Bergren, and I represent Visit McHenry County, the destination marketing organization for the county of McHenry. And thank you for your time today and for letting me make a couple comments. I've been involved with the super group for a while now, with the Downtown McHenry Association, with Kim and everyone else. And really quickly, I'd just like to say that the group that has come together to help promote and encourage visitors and residents to come and spend money in McHenry. The city of McHenry is amazing, and they're doing some great things. I've very much enjoyed working with them and seeing a lot more information for us to market to a greater area for visitors to come and spend some time in McHenry. This event is an amazing event that will help us as a visitors bureau be able to help draw people into our county to experience events, spend money, and also be more aware of what our county has to offer from a greater area than just the city of McHenry and the surrounding areas. We're obviously involved in this event and will continue to be as it moves forward as the kind of marketing arm along with the chamber to help make sure it gets marketed, us focusing on marketing it outside of the McHenry County area to bring in visitors from outside and further away. We're, in addition to the budget that Bill's proposed as far as looking for about $3,000 to put towards marketing efforts, we are ready to put behind it anywhere between $4,000 and $5,000 from our own organization. That will include press releases through our PR firm that sends out press releases to travel writers, hoping that they'll write stories about it and get it out there, as well as online digital media advertising that would be done through Google Ads and paid social media through Facebook that we would push out there in regards to the event to make sure people outside of the county are aware of this event. And we're also prepared to provide photography services as well as videography services for the event, including ground and drone video footage for the promotion of future events. So I know this is something that the videography and the drone footage is something that probably the super group hasn't even heard, but we looked at our budget and we are going to sit down with some different providers throughout the county that we work with to see if we can hire somebody and cover the cost of making sure that we get some great video and footage for this event for future promotion for the annual, hopefully what becomes an annual event that grows and gets bigger and bigger. So we are in great support of it. Again, like I said, it's going to be a great way to draw visitors into the city of McHenry as well as McHenry County. And with that being what we're here to do, we're excited to have another product to market to help achieve that mission. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Jackie. Thank you, Jackie. Okay.
Kay Bates, and I'm representing the Riverwalk Foundation as well as McHenry Area Chamber of Commerce. And I also am part of the super group. I feel very, very strongly that when we have an opportunity like this, that we need to just jump all over it. It's wonderful that Blarney Island did come to us. Rob Harlan, I believe is his name. And I think this is a great opportunity for an event that not only showcases our downtown community, but also our river. We are very, very fortunate in McHenry that we have an asset that other communities can only be envious of. The Chamber of Commerce is happy to support with a $1,500 sponsorship. I did go up $500 as you were talking, Bill, and help with the marketing of this particular function because we are very much behind it and feel that this will be an asset to our community.
Thanks, Ken. Thank you, Ken.
Oh, one more thing I wanted to say is that we do downtown on Court, too, as part of an activity. Now we do have, only 300 people that do walk through our McHenry community in our downtown area. But I will say we have never had a problem. Just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public that would like to make a public input on this? All right, there we go.
Oh, I gotta tell ya.
Yeah, come across for the purple, right? Hi, Kim Lowy, Cure Confections and McHenry Downtown Business Association. So this is the first time all the community groups in the city have worked together on one event, so we're really excited about it. And hopefully it's the starting off point for a lot of other events throughout the town. And, I mean, you know, the Downtown Uncorked event is awesome, and it brings 300 people through my store, but we're thinking like thousands of people in the door over the weekend, so I really hope that you vote yes on all these things.
Thanks, Karen. So at this time, I'd like to open it up to council. You have anything else to say before I do that?
I think I've said enough.
Okay.
For right now.
I'll open it up to council for discussion, comments, questions. Alderman Curry.
Just start off, I think it looks like it could be a really great event. Somewhere, I guess I look at it, if it's successful, somewhere between Blues, Brews, and Barbecue and Fiesta Days. It won't be as big as Fiesta Days, obviously, but it looks like it could be a really, really great event. I do have a couple of concerns and questions you might imagine. And one, of course, has already been mentioned, is the open carry issue. Because we're talking about, you know, I guess I'll ask a question first. On this area that you show on the map in our packet, are we saying that it would be open carry anywhere in that area, including, for example, somebody walking down Venice Avenue in front of the homes there?
Yes.
Yeah, see, that would be a concern of mine, I guess, that those residents that are in that area would, you know, might be affected negatively. But I was happy to see, and I missed it at first, that it, you know, at first I thought it was like 10 a.m. to midnight, because that's what this alcohol sales, I was like, I don't think we want people running. It's a long day of open carry. So at least cutting it off at 6 o'clock, I think, is, once I saw that, I missed it the first time through, but I think that's better. But, you know, the concern remains, I guess, still of possibility in the residential part of this area that's outlined. I guess I think that's probably the biggest concern I would have with the open carry. I was also happy to see the plastic cups, because I was actually in Cleveland, Ohio. I worked there when they had the bottles bombing down from the dog pound. I don't know if you guys remember that from the football game that happened. They thought they had it covered because it was plastic bottles only, but the problem is a full plastic bottle still hurts. So I was glad to see that it was just the plastic cups. So I think that's certainly better than it could be. And then just the other comment that I would have is on the budget part. And this was raised by a couple others too, but the 20,000 that you're talking about is like direct cost budget, of which we hope to get most of that back, if not all of that. But we have other costs, right, like police protection, for example. I would assume we're looking at some additional man hours of, so I guess I would ask as we go forward that we actually know what those numbers are and that we account. In fact, I was going to say, I've written down, you know, that since I'm involved with the finance committee, is that work with Director Lynch, making sure that we have a separate kind of accounting of the event, so that regardless of whether it's a first year, like any business, first year is tough. You know, you might not make money, but we should know what that number is, and we should include all our man-hour costs that are over and above what we normally have. I know we already have them with the parade, for example, but I think anything that would be additional would be something we should account for. At least we know where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. To develop, you know, again, this budget is speculative and it's extremely preliminary until we know exactly what the event is or isn't. And then you can start putting numbers into an actual budget and also doing some forecast on revenue so that we can present the whole budget and say, here's our best guess of where we land. That would be, that's where we would like to handle them. But for discussion points, I wanted to give you some idea of where I think.
No, I'm just talking about as we go forward. I think, you know, Chief Burke could need to, okay, we're gonna need, you know, 300 extra man hours or whatever. I mean, whatever the numbers are, that, you know, we would account for the cost of the event. So that, again, I'm not saying even if it's cost, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying we ought to know what it is.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion by council? Alderwoman Condon?
I don't know what time it gets dark in March. Has there been, I guess the point of raising that is that I suspect it's before 6 o'clock.
It's right in that area.
It is around 6? Okay. That was my concern that, I mean, obviously, it's gonna be a little different, you know, we might be a little bit off or,
Right.
but, okay, so as long as it's around 6 o'clock.
Yes.
Thank you.
Alderman Glab?
Yeah, I guess probably the most difficult part about this whole thing more than anything else is the fact that we don't really have a vision of the downtown area. We've never had a good discussion by council of what we want to see down there in the next 5 to 10 years. Are we looking at, seeing dress shops and those type of retailers in our downtown area, or is it going to be a party area? Because it seems like more and more bars want to open up and that type of recreation. And it would be a lot easier when these things come if we had that type of vision. I think that's something that we need to look at down in the future as far as having that type of discussion at council. Again, you know, views for the future of what is it that we want to do downtown and what is it that we'd like to see. Because I think that's important, I really do. I mean, you're talking about an event here that's just a mix of everything that's being proposed right now. Number one, I'm a little leery about having any kind of carry. You know, we do it at sidewalk sale. I know there's a lot of police officers that we need, and our police department does an excellent job of controlling everything out there, but that's because we have the manpower out there too, you know. And if you're talking an event like this, you're talking time and a half overtime for a lot of police officers, you know, which is going to be a large expense to the city. I look at the point, and you're looking at event parking there, and you're looking at a stage. I would imagine that's for a band.
Yes.
Then you're looking at a bar,
Yes.
an outside bar.
Intent.
You don't have an outside bar.
What's that?
Explain that. We don't have an outside bar. We don't have a liquor license here at the city, do we?
No, it would be a special event liquor license that we'd have to issue to ourselves to be able to do this.
So we as a city will be selling alcohol.
Yes.
And how do you figure that we will take and hire people to serve?
Well, there's two options that we have, and again, these are some of the details that we have to work through. We can either do that as a volunteer, just like Fiesta Days, just like Blues Brews and Barbecues, where they bring in organizations that really want to have their company have some exposure to be able to do that, and hand out those beers as long as we have wristbanding in place, as well as ticket sales, so that their only job as a volunteer, they don't have to card somebody, they don't have to have VASA training, but the people that are putting those wristbands on, those are the ones that we need to make sure that are licensed, you know, and I shouldn't say licensed, that's not it, that are trained to be able to do that and spot that. The other option is Mr. Hardman. It's what he does. He operates 2 bars, the Port of Blarney and the Blarney Island, for him to be able to bring in staff. He's the expert in that area. From when we look at it, we say, you run the entertainment. You are the guy that we want to bring the sound stage and lighting and the bands, because that's what he does for business. But he also does for businesses run 2 very successful bars. So if he had to bring in staff on his end to be able to operate that bar, that's another option.
Excuse me, but what 2 bars does he own?
Port of Blarney
Uh-huh.
and Blarney Island.
And neither one of them are in the city of McHenry.
That's correct.
Okay, so we're gonna bring an outside entity to do business against the businesses that we have in the downtown area that have liquor licenses.
That's correct.
And I just feel that maybe we should be competitive and see if there isn't some of our bar owners that would be interested in, you know, let's have a bid, you know, who's gonna do the best as far as giving it to the city rather than the city being in the business. Let's lease the bar out and let.
Well, the alcohol itself costs the same no matter who buys it. It's bought through a distributor, through Charles Herbstrick. So you buy it for the same price. Whatever you decide to charge at that point per beer is one thing. I do understand what you're saying. Mr. Hardman has offered to bring in that. There's obviously it is outside of something, you know, he's an outside organization. And there would be some Blarney Island some recognition for dyeing the river and the cost. He's not charging us at all for that. There's no charge. The costs are directly related to us, but he's not charging us for the dyeing of the river. This event, its intention is to bring people outside, people that aren't normally here. People that are here are going to go to the Gambler, they're going to go to Old Bridge, they're going to go to the spots that they usually go to. This brings more people that hopefully gets those people moving to these bars as well. Not in a per se pub crawl, but that's what it turns into, where you get these people moving throughout the downtown.
The word is hopeful. You know, you talk to a lot of business people down Green Street, when we have the car shows, yeah, it brings a lot of people in. You know, it takes up a lot of parking spaces as well on Green Street, and you talk to some of those businesses don't reap anything off of the traffic from the car shows.
Well, half of them.
Kim, how do you do on car shows?
I'm just saying, some of them have told me that, you know.
A lot of the businesses aren't open on Monday nights, so
Half of them close.
Okay, well,
it's
all I'm saying is, hopefully is not solid.
It's a prospective event. This is the first time.
Mm-hmm. And again, you know, it's great to have the special event. I just can't see people carrying alcohol around. You know, we're not just talking beer, we're talking alcohol, correct?
The intention at the festival at this point is just the beer, wine, malt liquor type thing. The Mike's Hard Lemonade. If you went to the Gambler or Buddy's or DC Cobb's or any other business and you had your Captain and Coke and you poured it into a cup, then yes.
Yeah,
But from an event point of view, the plan isn't to have. We haven't discussed having a full liquor service bar there.
When I pull up my Traverse and I open up the back hatch and I say, hey, come on, buddies, and I pull out the cooler and pour a couple shots of Captain and Coke into a plastic cup, is that going to be legal?
Within the parameters of that day, bringing coolers down there is not the intention. We wouldn't allow coolers in the tent or on the site at that point. You can enforce that. To have somebody carrying a cooler behind them and as they're walking through downtown, are we going to stop each cooler like a parade day and ask what's in your cooler? I don't see us doing that, but we could. If you saw somebody that had especially if you saw a glass bottle or something that didn't belong there.
Glass I could understand, but I mean, if they're in plastic cups, then I would probably question that to the attorney that we stop everybody that has a cooler walking down the street. I don't know if that becomes a problem as far as rights of people to have a cooler, unless we see them pulling a beer out or a drink or something, you know.
Right.
It's not like when they go into our park, an enclosed area that, we inspect all the coolers going in. And I think if somebody wants to walk on a public street and they have a cooler, do we open it up to make sure it's all lemonade? And, there's a lot of things I think we need to look at if we were to go through with something like this. Even though I'm not in favor of, like I say, having it just wide open as far as carry, like our side. And there've been a couple times in the past, it's kind of tapered down over the years, but I can remember about 15, 20 years ago, Riverside Drive was like wall-to-wall kids, I shouldn't say kids, I mean, they're adults, but still,
We upped the price. That was the one that was cool.
Is that what it was? 50-cent beer?
We did up the price. Standardized and up the price. This is, in my eyes, this will be much more controlled than not as intense as sidewalk sales. We close every downtown street we close down. There's bands set up in the street, and it's wide open in the streets. Now you're asking people to stay on the sidewalks and move between businesses. So me and my group of 5 friends, if I could find 5 friends, walking from one bar to the next to have a drink.
But we're promoting this to be a family event, correct?
Exactly.
I mean, we're trying to take a look at, and we're talking. You have the band, the bar, the parking lot, and over here we have the family or kids tent area, of which everybody that stops there for a drink and is on their way out passes that tent.
Again, that's some space planning, and there is some. We could move those out and put them at Weber Park. We could put them at Betts Park. And what that family component is, you try, you know, in any event planning, even in Fiesta Days, you try to find that niche for everybody. We accomplish it in Fiesta Days by really creating Sunday as more of that family event. What becomes that family thing? Is it, you know, obviously you don't want the kids sticking around after 7 o'clock at night. It becomes more of a, all right, me and my wife are gonna go out and we're gonna have drinks at that point, and you get the babysitter. But is the day, can we get a sponsor for the iceless skate rink? You know, that'd be a great opportunity to do something like that. What other type of thing could we do during those daytime hours to promote some sort of family feel? And then it does transition. You could even accomplish that through some of the band selection and not having, you're gonna have bands that maybe cater to the 50s and 60s or classic music, or that transitions into the 80s, or however you can accommodate some of that through that. But again, right now to say exactly what those kids and family events would be is hard to do until we have any idea that council is even in favor of the event as a whole. Right now, as it stands, it's not approved for anything. Without any approval, we're not going anywhere.
Well, that's why we have discussions.
There's no event besides the parade that we've had and the Shamrock Shuffle 5K.
But as far as, you mentioned the fact that, there won't be any kids at night and all this, and.
There will be.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I know somebody that sits at this table that, I remember a couple of years ago, and I don't frequent that often on Friday nights, and 6:30, 7 o'clock, and there he is with his wife and his kids going down to the Foxhole Pizza for pizza.
Sure.
So, I mean, families do get out there in the evenings, and, I don't know. I mean, do we really want to open this up to the, no, it wasn't you, Wayne. But
We go to Bimbo's.
if you want to admit to it, that's fine too. But anyway, all I'm getting at is, do we want this as widespread as the whole downtown area?
I think that's, from our goal as a committee, that was the idea. And Kim, if you want something to add, please step up. But the goal was really to create an event that's throughout the downtown so that you can take advantage of those Taste of McHenry specials. And
just a couple of things to your points there. So Sunday was supposed to be more of the family friendly events and things like that. And the parade and everything are also away from, the live music and beer tents. So there is kind of a separation, even though it's all throughout downtown, there is a bit of a separation. And then to do the taste event on Sunday, the bars will already be plenty busy on Saturday, and I don't think anyone's concerned about that. They did a, what was that called, food truck extravaganza in Woodstock, and they found that the restaurants were even busier than they normally were because the food trucks were there for a while, but they started to run out of things, so actually it pushed more people into the restaurants than took them away, so there's that part as well. So I think the restaurants and businesses will be in favor, and then as far as putting together a vision for downtown, I think that's really what we're working for, not to make it, party central necessarily, but to create ourselves as a fun riverfront kind of town, and to encourage businesses to move downtown that will be part of something that's going on and want to participate in things like that. So.
Thank you, Kim.
Yep.
Okay.
Real quick. Thank you, Mayor Jatt. And I just wanted to address Blarney Island. There's nobody more local than I am. But I will say that Rob brings a special skill, and he brings notoriety. And I think it's what Bill mentioned, 15 years. I want to say 20 years of experience of dyeing a river green. Because of his special skills and his notoriety, we as the chamber also will sometimes go outside and bring in a special talent that we know will draw people and help us make a successful event, and has a skill that we may not be able to find locally.
Thank you. Any?
What does that have to do with the alcohol that we were talking about? I don't understand.
Well, let's make this discussion about what we want and what,
Okay.
Let's not spin our wheels here. Let's get input. Alderman Sanders.
Let's read through it.
Okay, Yeah, on the alcohol sales, I'm just reading here what was sent to us, it's under Blarney Island. So, actually, I wasn't thinking towards the same angle as Alderman Glab. I was just wondering, is that something that he is definitely very comfortable in doing?
I'm sorry.
In regards to Blarney, Mr. Hartman?
Hardman, yes.
Yeah.
Dying the River you're talking
No,
about?
no. He's his three things: Dying River, music, alcohol sales underneath his name. So is he willing to do that? Does he want to come in and staff that?
That is
I understand
something-
he's gonna make a profit. Yeah.
That is something he could do. The profit would be, we would cover costs. He has stated in front of that committee that he doesn't need to make a dime on this. He wants to cover his costs, but is not looking to make a profit. He's looking to, his profit comes from the notoriety he gets with this event when all the people go out there in the summer.
I mean, if he's got his staff there, he's gonna have, the Blarney Island, shirts, whatever, and they're gonna promote themselves. I understand it, which makes all the sense in the world. And then the second item there, the music. Is he gonna be involved with us in regards to picking music, and what about the cost of that? Is he willing to take any of that cost on, or that's probably looking at our budget, right?
It would be our budget. It would be our event, our name's on the contract. And that's what I did ask him to provide, what he thought that budget would be for the weekend for those bands, and that's where that number came specifically from him of costs for bands for the weekend. And to be honest with you, I was surprised that it was that low, but that's what he does for business.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yes, he does. I mean, they're out there every weekend, and I mean, yes, he runs a restaurant. They have food out there, 2 places, full bar and music. Would the thought be there to at least make the calls to locally, just see if someone wants to staff this, or am I stepping on toes there in regards to any other bar, restaurant, facilities within the city?
My guess is, and that we certainly could entertain those discussions just about what specials they want to have, or how can we bring notoriety to whatever bar, whatever special that they're having, to drive them to those places as well within the event tent. But being a busy weekend, they're probably going to want to staff their own facility.
Sure.
And not have double staffing for something that all they're going to get is the notoriety. There's not a dollar coming into their pocket from that event tent per se.
Okay, and a couple quick things. The parade, we do have a parade already. It's a walking parade. Is this an enhanced walking parade? Are we changing this around? I know we're changing the route. Yes, we're changing the route, making it longer.
Slightly longer, yes.
Okay, so is it a walking parade still? How's that?
I think, the idea would be like to add some floats to this and have a higher, I don't want to say higher quality parade, because it was a salute to volunteerism is how our St. Patrick's Day was reintroduced to our community, and it was strictly walking groups. Within the last couple of years, you've seen some vehicles in that, whether that's the seniors that have had a presence in there with the bus, the pickup trucks for like St. Baldrick's, or the trucks maybe for the Irish dancers that has the music that's in front of the walkers. So you've seen vehicles in that the last couple of years, despite the fact that it primarily is a walking parade.
Okay, and final item I have right now is it's been brought up, the open carry. I'm concerned in regards to having just, in fact, open carry, all our establishments, will they be comfortable with something like this? I know they have some concerns. A lot of people close up all day long during fiesta days. They don't reopen until 4 or 5 o'clock once everything's shut down. And this is going to go on until, late in the evening on a Saturday, and then into the start of, the dinner hour on a Sunday. Our security then with our police force, and I know the chief was taking notes before about, possibly how much more time or man hours do we need on something like this, or would we have to ask from his department? That's a concern, because we do put them through a lot in the summer months with Fiesta Days and Blues Brew and barbecue and, you know, and other events. And, you know, I know
That's a
he's
rough
strapped
month.
for,
I'm not
he's
gonna lie,
strapped for
that's a rough
staff,
month.
and I don't, you know, and I don't wanna speak for you, chief, but, you know,
Well-
I just wanna make sure that you can cover your bases, and maybe without, you know, I don't wanna see, you know, just a negativity into your force in regards to, you know, here it is, another, you know, another event that we have to watch over on a weekend.
I think I could comment on a lot of these topics, I just wanted to wait for all the
Okay.
council to make their comments, and then.
All right,
I
and,
can
okay.
respond to some of them.
And then, I guess, are we looking at tweaking this alcohol sales in regards to, it says here from 10 a.m. to midnight? Looking at maybe bringing that down a little bit, because we don't even allow Fiesta Days, and they stop at 10:45, right?
10:45 sales.
Yeah.
They stop.
Um,
Again, it's a
I
proposal.
would
becomes
like
what-
to trim
what-
that, personally, I would like to trim that down.
Okay.
And personally, in my opinion, the open carry, you know, I think this would be a very, very well-attended, excellent event. I don't think that would really deter much in regards, we don't have that. I'm just not a big fan of having, I won't go against it because of it, but I'm just, personally, just don't really need it. I don't think this event needs it.
So, to Jerry's point, and just to reiterate, I guess to bring up, Ross looked it up for me, 7:02 is sunset on
Alderman
St.
Curry looked
Patrick's
it up
Day.
for me as
So,
well.
We are ahead of that. Again, and it was just an idea to really to kind of create that flow. That's the MO of going with that. I understand that it's a concept that's maybe a little bit outside the box for what we normally do. Not that we don't do it, but it is outside the box from what normally occurs. And so, and I wouldn't do anything, and I'll let Chief speak to that, but I wouldn't do anything without having had a thorough discussion with him regarding that principle, that idea, that concept.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Devine?
I just have a couple questions. Miller Point, is that sidewalk along the south side, is that lit up? I haven't been down there in a long time at night, so I can't remember. Is that pretty well lit up along there? or
It is pretty well lit.
Okay. And as far as like the family and kids tent, maybe some fencing around there, whatever, it's gonna be dark, people are gonna be drinking, it's along the water.
There would definitely be a point when you close that down, you say, all right, the hours for the kids' events, and again, I think we've all tried to look at other events. I know Milwaukee has a big St. Patrick's Day presence, or even like Pittsburgh. And what type of events do you offer in a kids' tent? What can you do? Because again, it's March, and we've seen snow in March.
Right.
And so, what type of things can you offer or are appropriate to offer that are going to be that draw? And what are the hours for that? Those are all things that kind of those details that you got to fill in once we know that from a greater event size, that this is something that council is even supportive of at all.
I'm just concerned about being the proximity to the water there. And as far as the open carry, I'm on the fence about it. I'm willing to see how it goes this year and readdress it. If there's, problems, then definitely can go on.
Thank you.
And there's, of course, there's boundaries we could set as well. I mean, we could just do Green, we could just do Riverside and Pearl. We could set those boundaries as well. We could set the time to 5 p.m. versus 6 p.m. I mean, there's things that we could try back it off a little bit on the open carry the first year and not have to have Venice Drive and all these other areas. So, I mean, I think from what council has been saying so far, I think there's support there for the event. I think the open carry is where we got to figure out, where we want to direct staff to as far as how we want to get this event moving. Where does everyone feel as far as setting those boundaries and maybe setting the time a little earlier than later for the open carry? Alderwoman Condon?
Couple points. I would agree, I think it was Alderman Santee maybe that brought up. I would like the times to be the same as closing down as we do the other events, which I think is 10:45 for sales.
Yeah, the event would close at 11 if it's
Yeah.
the same as Blues Cruising Barbecue and Fiesta
Yes,
Days.
I think that is appropriate to stay consistent with those other events. Would the council have approval on the bands, or would that strictly be whoever, or assuming?
That would strictly be
Yeah.
more of the committee.
Okay,
decision.
so the committee as a whole is going to, okay, I just wanted some oversight on that, the selection of that. I just wanted to make a point. Yesterday, I went down to visit my daughter in Naperville, and it was cold. But it was packed. I'm getting a little noise there. There were people walking all over. We went to a paint a paint shop, and then we went in and had coffee, and people were all over downtown on a really cold day. Yes, there were bars and there were restaurants and coffee shops and just boutiques, and that's what I envision McHenry to be. And to get to that point, I think we need to have activities like what is being presented, to start getting people to see that we do have things in McHenry, and the more events we have down there, the more we'll attract more businesses down there. And I'm excited. I think this has a potential. We've got a lot of things going on in McHenry. Am I nervous about some of it? Yeah, but I think that's, the first time you try anything, there's things that are gonna work, and there are things that you're gonna have to adjust the next year. So overall, I'm very excited. I support moving forward with this. And I guess that was gonna be my ultimate question from whomever, but what are you looking for from us this evening? Just a general concept approval, and then you'll come back with more specifics, or do you want, do we want to know tonight, is there approval for the open carry everywhere, or the cutoff of the sales, or what are you looking for this evening from us?
What was put on as a discussion item, not an action item, but if there was one thing that we could get coming out of this, and I guess this is maybe a question more for the mayor or administrator or Attorney McCardle, is with approved, to be able to have some expenditure of money, to be able to finalize bands and start marketing the event. Our next opportunity for action is the committee of the whole. We could put an action item on there on the 29th. And so I guess that's the other thing, is I do believe, since it's a discussion item, I don't think we can take action on this evening. But being able to at least know that we're supportive, so that, because the committee's all at a stop right now, and that's unfortunate, not where we want to be, but that's where I have tried to lead them to say, all right, until we have some idea at least that we're either supportive, or where council lands in any of these items, are they even supportive of the event at all? That's been a big question, and again, it's been something that typically for an event that's in March of this nature, we would be approving this in July. We would have all the details worked out, and we would be before you in July with plenty of time to work out. Just with the way this one's happened, we're trying not to lose that opportunity and give up a year, because we feel like we have all the pieces in place to be able to at least start small, but start small with a very professional and well-organized event that we can tackle and bring people downtown to encourage that atmosphere and get people moving through our downtown, people that wouldn't normally be there, not just that St. Patrick's Day crowd that you might get year to year, but people that want to come down, families that want to come down for that parade and walk through and see the river dyed green and have a different perspective. And they don't have to go down to the city of Chicago to do that. We can offer that to them here, and we think we can do that pretty well. And we think we can do that because we think we have the right partners to be able to do that.
Thank you. Director Martin would like to say it.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I just, what Alderwoman Condon just said kind of encapsulates what I just wanted to say. I think, what Alderman Glad was saying, what do we want the downtown to be? And that's a very fair question. And, what Alderman Condon just said about Naperville, I don't know if we're going to be Naperville, but I guess what what I do know is we want McHenry to be a destination. I think everyone would agree with that. You know, Woodstock had the food truck fest. Every town is vying for a position to be they're vying for their identity. And of course there's risk. There's a lot of risk here. There's risk with the alcohol, there's risk with the boundary. When I saw this proposal, there's a lot of risk, but there's also a lot of reward. I mean, no town that I know of outside of Chicago has done this. And this could really put McHenry on the map. And the other thing I see here that is incredible is we have a lot of partners. And we have this term called a supergroup, and everyone says, what's a supergroup? Well, I think what it is, and I'm a member, I do attend, it's not an exclusive club, anybody can attend, but it's a collaboration of multiple entities, the Downtown Business Association, the Chamber, Visit McHenry County, and it's all these entities working together for the same purpose, to promote the community and businesses and promoting our identity and to be one and to be a community. And so I guess that's all I wanted to say is we're trying to establish our identity, we're trying to promote our community, and I don't think we're gonna solve all these problems tonight, but I guess that's the way I see this proposal. I mean, it was a very good discussion to listen to, and that's what I wanted to add to the discussion.
Thank you, Director Martin. So at this point, I mean, I think what we need to figure out is whether, open carry, I think, is one of the biggest discussions, whether, once again, are we gonna have boundaries, we're gonna do it as proposed. We'd like to get direction on that. I think without an action item, I'd like to get some input from council and so would staff so we can really start moving on this. So, but before I do that, Chief Burke will go ahead and say a few words as well.
I just wanted to comment on some of the concerns that council had. First reference, Bill and I have met a couple times now privately on this topic to discuss some of the concerns that you brought forward. Reference security, whether or not it's the event being by the water, whether or not it's lighting issues. And that's something that we're very, very well prepared to plan through regardless of what type of event the council approves for this. We're used to this. I mean, we've got this down to a science. Along those same lines, when you look at any type of a burden to the police department for services, yeah, we're taxed in the summer. You know, we have events that we have to manage in June, July, and August through summer. But this event does not fall at that time. There's no other significant event occurring. We're already participating in a smaller version of this event with the 5K run and with the parade. So to incorporate this event as one whole would cost us a little extra money. We can absorb that in our overtime budget the way we sit right now currently for the year. And just as an estimate, conservatively, I do not think we would exceed $7,000 in our cost of overtime. It would probably be less. As we get closer to the event and we see what kind of marketing numbers are coming in, we'll be able to take that along with the final details of the event, and we'll be able to do an analysis to find out what our staffing levels are needed. So that number could be lower for us, but we won't know until we get a little closer. We do an analysis every year on every festival that we manage as far as law enforcement goes. So we know exactly down to the penny what Fiesta Days costs us every year. We know exactly what Blues Brews and Barbecue costs us. So it'll be very easy for us to convert that and tell council if they would like to know after this event exactly what this costs the city as far as police services go. We did reference the open carry. I know that's a topic for many of you. We discussed this, Bill and I discussed this in length. There's numerous events throughout the city where people are allowed open carry in the downtown business districts. The wine tastings occur seamlessly, no police issues whatsoever. Sidewalk sales, I would agree with Alderman Glab. Every year it's gotten actually better for us. We've put some restrictions, the cost of alcohol has gone up. A different generation of people probably have entered into that event, but nonetheless it's actually been a lower key event every year consistently for the last few years. But I would stress that this is not the same kind of event as far as law enforcement sides. You know, closing down the street and allowing a large crowd to gather on a street is different than allowing them to walk on the sidewalks from place to place. We very early on discussed that we wouldn't want people out walking with open alcohol during nighttime hours. We just had a concern for their safety, and I think everybody unanimously agreed that that's absolutely the case. Speaking to the topic of the neighborhood that's between there, there's 9 houses that currently are on Venice. I happen to be one of them. So I'm fairly familiar with that neighborhood. The Venice Avenue is a heavily traveled road during Fiesta Days. So on sidewalk sales, it's not uncommon for me to see groups of 20, 30, 50 people walk past my house as they're walking to the Gambler or to Buddy's after the event ends, or back and forth between Green Street when their street's closed and Riverside Drive. We've never had an occurrence on the street. We've never had an issue. I've never received any complaints from any of my neighbors about that. The reason I bring that forward is if that is an option for them to be able to walk through there, I do believe it's safer. Having large groups of people on a sidewalk that's right on the edge of Illinois Route 120 as they're walking back and forth does produce it. Although it's a minute risk, it still is a risk that somebody's texting and not paying attention and they drive up on the curb a little bit. There's no buffer. The sidewalk is right next to the road. So that's just one concern that would come out on our side. And just like any event, if we're allowing people to walk around, they have to be responsible. So we will be prepared to enforce public intoxication if there's people that aren't acting responsible as they're walking from one establishment to another. The open carry is still allowed, but public intoxication is not. So I hope that answered some of the questions that council had.
Thank you, Chief. Alderman Glad?
Chief, could you tell us about how many hours of overtime did you use at Fiesta Days 10?
I would have to pull it up. If you guys wanted to keep talking, I could probably do it for my computer.
Take a ballpark figure.
I couldn't. What I can tell you is Fiesta Days for the entire event from the start to the end is roughly $23,000 in our cost. But that's 2 weekends and all the events in between during the week. So it's a very complex, that's why I can't give you an estimate.
So we're looking at $20,000 that we're up front now, and then we're talking probably a possible another $7,000 or $8,000 in overtime.
I feel confident it wouldn't exceed 7. It would probably come closer to 5.
Okay.
You know, because we already have the expense for the parade. We put police officers on that. We plan for that. We already have the expense for the 5K run. We put police officers on that. We plan for it. We're just incorporating extra duties, so there will be additional manpower to go in there, but there's already manpower there.
I mean, I know on Saturday sidewalks, I'll usually see 3 to 4 on Riverside, maybe 5.
Yeah, I'm
and 1 or
confident
2 on
because
Green Street because it's quite less over there.
the staffing levels for the sidewalk sales event will always be higher than the staffing levels for this event, or at least for this first year.
Right.
I don't anticipate the crowd levels, and I don't anticipate the issues with this event that we could potentially or have seen in the past with sidewalk sales. Back when it was quarter beers. So.
And I am not going to be in favor of the walk and carry, but I can tell you one thing that we should probably look at, and that's the fact that if you're going to present something, number one, that open carry is only for the purchased out in the downtown area. You figure there is a recourse if somebody gets out of hand, somebody's overserved, then you have the bars that are responsible for that. If somebody just brings in, you know, a keg of beer and 2 or 3 of them are sitting there at their vehicle or whatever for half of the day, getting drunk or whatever, there's no recourse to
I think that's one aspect that you see in there, that they're looking into making sure they're doing wristbanding. We use that as a tool of law enforcement to tell real quickly whether or not somebody's participating in the event or if they're drinking out of that cooler off to the side.
Oh, good. If they have the band, that doesn't necessarily mean they go into the bars to buy anything.
Pardon me?
I said just because they have the wristband doesn't mean they actually go into the bars and buy it.
No, but it's a very small percentage that are going to actually think outside the box to go get a wristband.
But you always have
that's
those
just from my
couple
experience.
that take it and know how to loop around everything.
We have had no issues with any of our past events with coolers or open alcohol whatsoever, not even on sidewalks or during parade day.
Yeah. And that's because you guys are on top of it and the amount of man hours that we have to put in it as far as the police department. And again, I mean, it will be interesting to see what type of dollars that we're talking that it's going to cost the city. And I just still don't think that we should be in the business of selling the alcohol. If we are, then let's go back to take over Fiesta Days and let's take the alcohol profits there as well. You know, let's make it back a community event instead of a profit event, because that's what Fiesta Days has turned out. It's not the old, everybody gets together, and shame on the council from past years, because they did that one time, wanted to have an extra day just for nothing but for families, and we turned them down that year.
Just for
Was that about 6-7 years ago, okay? Something like that, you guys wanted an extra day just for family events. But anyway, that's another whole story. Is controlling it as far as hours and everything. But then we shouldn't have the kiddie stuff next to the bars either.
Thanks. For direction by council, can I get a show of hands of, are we okay to move forward on the event with a liquor aside, for the event itself? Show of hands of who's supportive of this. Okay, so we got that. Liquor, open carry. Who, in show of hands, who's supportive of open carry with some type of boundaries or time discussion? I think all of them. I think all of them. Andy, were you supportive of the event itself, liquor aside?
Liquor aside, the event.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm not sure what you mean
So,
by
with
your
discussion,
last question.
with liquor, I mean, as far as open liquor, boundaries, times, is anyone against it altogether? I guess that's an easier way to put it. So you guys are open to
I'd
have
say I have
discussion about it.
reservations. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
okay.
say I'm totally against it, but I have reservations.
So does that get us in the right direction? I mean,
Yeah,
and $20,000.
Yeah, and when we say $20,000, we're talking about this super, well, part of their budget, right? Your budget, not the chief's budget.
No, it would be money that we would have a budget amendment
Or
from the
Public Works
hotel
budget.
motel. And I will say that Julie Gilmore, who's the general manager for the Hampton Inn, also sits on has sitting on the committee and is very supportive, especially when it's a 2-day event. Now you're encouraging people to maybe stay over and take part in both days' events. So it really does lend to some business for her as well. So the money would be derived from the hotel motel revenue.
Okay, so is that enough? I mean,
I'm in agreement. I would say it is not to exceed that number. You know, do your best to keep it beneath that number. That's,
Does that count sponsorship money that I did in addition?
Well, see, now then we're kind of, we're bringing down our costs, which is great. Yeah, if we get some sponsorships.
Well, I guess that's where I'm, and that's a ballpark figure at this point, and so as I'm putting more of a detailed budget together for you in conjunction with this event, which is probably something I'll even sit down with Kay, because of her expertise with Fiesta Days, I can get her, I already know what the exact number for the tent is, I know what the sound stage and lighting will be, but some of those other fill-in-the-blank ones, I need her expertise on that. So that would be a number that I would like to possibly amend and put in a final supplement for you the next time that we can have some action items.
My thoughts on
Alderman Glab.
Yeah, first question I got is, do we have any idea how much we have in the tourism fund at this point in time?
Off the top of my head, I do not know the fund balance of that. I know that they,
I mean, we've been talking about it's gonna be paid by that, it's gonna be paid by that, but do we know what?
I don't know what that, I don't know what it is. I know that we could absorb these costs, I just don't know the actual fund balance on that.
I'm looking it up, but it may take me a couple minutes.
You know, even though I could be supportive of the event, again, that's with allowing the entities within the city of McHenry getting involved as far as serving the liquor and everything else. I just feel that our businesses here in the city itself should have first crack at services and as far as the extras. I mean, if they don't want to do it, it's fine, but, you know, I just think to some extent, I think some of them probably would want to get involved in that rather than bringing an outside entity. I mean, it should be what's good for the city of McHenry and the residents and the businesses of the city of McHenry.
Bringing people here that would never otherwise be here is good for the city of McHenry, in my opinion, and that's what the aim of the event is.
Exactly, but that doesn't mean that the events themselves, I mean, it's just like Fiesta Days, I'm sorry, but I have some problems with Fiesta Days at times when we have all these big bands and everything else. We're not servicing the residents of the city of McHenry. We're bringing in tons of people from outside the city that come to the park and then they leave. They don't spend anywhere else except at Fiesta Days. I mean, you know, at Peterson Park.
But you don't know what the secondary impact of that is either. If they see something that maybe they, oh, I didn't know there was a Dick's here, I didn't know there was whatever here, maybe they come back to our community. And that's keep bringing them through our town, getting them here the first time is always the toughest. And so I think Fiesta Days does an excellent job of offering something for everyone. And it does bring people in from out of our community, absolutely.
Absolutely.
A large number of people.
And I'm sure this would too.
Hopefully.
Well, I'm sure it would. I'm sure it'll bring people because party people come from distances to go to these type of events, so.
The beginning fund balance going into this year was $399,538. Proposed ending is $464,588.
Sounds to me like we haven't been spending a lot of money on that.
That's what we're asking for you.
Just as I was looking sideways at it.
Yeah, I'll verify his numbers.
There you go.
It's like I pulled it up the same moment.
Okay, well, and again, that's what that fund is there for, is this type of stuff. So spending the money is not unless, needless to say, we don't want to just spend it foolishly, but spending the money the question is as much as, again, participation, and our businesses should come first, as far as opportunities.
Yep.
All right. Alderman Curry.
Just a general comment on the event. Again, as I said before, I think it could be a great event for the city. We keep saying we're part of the Fox, and that's our identity associated with the Fox River. And here we have an event before us, or at least we're discussing an event that, guess what, involves the Fox River. So I think that's a good thing, and that we should involve the Fox River. If that's, again, our identity, we should involve it in as many events as we can. I'm supportive of the event, you know, and I look forward to next year being able to watch the greening of the river, walking along the river walk from Weber Park south to 120. Because I think that's what you know, obviously it's an event like this, you want to involve that whole area. And I think that's just natural, logical conclusion is that we need to finish a river walk and support events along the river. Maybe at 4th of July we can color it red, white, and blue as streams, something like that. Anyway, now I think it's a good event. You know, I'm still a little bit concerned about not the open carry per se, but just in the neighborhoods. And I appreciate Chief's comment about living in the area and that. But I'm sure there's some other blocks.
$5 parking too.
I'm sure, you know, looking at the area involved, because I assume we're talking about that area that's outlined, you know, in that route. So you're gonna have it in other neighborhoods that haven't seen it before, I would think, possibly. So, you know, I just think it's a concern that, you know, some of the residents might have a concern.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. All right, moving on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Staff reports. Any staff reports this evening?
The only thing that I'll add is we did have a Riverwalk Foundation meeting this afternoon, and they are formulating a plan to discuss some of what Alderman Glad brought up, as well as what Alderman Curry had just spoke on. So they'll look to make a presentation to us. It sounds like more in the April-May timeframe.
Thank you. Any other staff reports?
We do have a community development committee meeting on Monday, the 22nd at 7 p.m. right here in this room.
Thank
Thank you.
Just a couple of things council are getting. Just hot off the press, really today, Friday and today, is the first item, the smaller of the packets, which is the results of the downtown parking analysis. It was a study or an analysis that council asked that staff undertake to just kind of get as part of the parking discussion of the downtown, and Chief Burke and his staff jumped on that right away. And all the information's in the study. It was over a 2-week time period, where 3 times a day, every day, each of the areas were looked at during those 3 times, the morning and afternoon and an evening, every day of the week. Counts were taken of either on-street or off-street parking, public lots or on-street parking lots, and all numbers crunched by the police department. And I only wanted to get that finalized and to you tonight. We can certainly put it on for discussion at a future meeting, but I wanted to get that to council tonight because of the second packet that you got, which is the information that is for the upcoming committee of the whole meeting on January 29th. One of the items in there in the street sidewalk signals category is a discussion of our downtown parking improvements. And then those include, as you recall from the meetings that we had about downtown parking, those were divided by access. I wanted you to have the information from the parking study, even in the form that it is now, without having a chance to talk about it as a group. Read, and as we move into discussion on the 29th, the parking access discussion. I mean, that's just one very small component of the overall general fund CIP discussion, but it is obviously we're going to be talking about funding or money for parking improvements, and I wanted you to have the parking information. So the big packet that you have, again, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's a cover memo on there that talks about the purpose of the information. It has all general fund CIP related projects, and as the memo states, but I'll state here publicly, I really envision the January 29th meeting. We've not done it since I've been here, but I really envision it to be a city council workshop, city council staff workshop, where now have the projects, you have the estimated dollar amounts. It's an opportunity for, and those are the projects as submitted by staff with the dollar amount submitted by staff, in their purest, unreprioritized form and all of that, in their full context. And so for staff or council to have a chance to read through the project narratives. Obviously there's way more request for money there than there is money to do the projects, but then we can come together on the 29th and have an open dialogue between staff and council about what those projects are. But most importantly, and this is the biggest change, because we know what we have in the general fund balance, we know that dollar amount, and because council adopted a fund balance and reserve policy a couple years ago, we know what the dollar amount is in that capital improvements fund, the assigned for capital amount. We can really use it as a budget discussion too, to say, this is how much money we have, here's the projects, and here's how much money we would like you to now include in the upcoming budget for capital improvements for these projects. So it's a little bit more than just the wish list planning project, and now it kind of starts to bridge that between the plan of the Christmas list and the actual budget, because now council can actually work with staff and say, these are the projects we want to do with these dollar amounts. So I'm looking forward to the workshop. I'll have the spreadsheets that I gave to you. I'll have those, we'll actually have a screen. We'll go to the middle of the room for that evening so that we can all be close. And we'll have these screens up as well as a regular screen with those spreadsheets. So if we change dollar amounts, it'll actually change them on the sheets too. We can actually look at the numbers as we have the discussion and add money or take money away or move projects around. We can actually reflect that. Any questions that you have on any of that, at the end of every project narrative is a director name, so that director that submitted that project's name is on there. If you have questions or comments before the 29th, email it to that. Feel free to email that director directly with those questions. CC Carolyn and I so that we know too and can help track the information. That's fine if you want to do that, but remember the 29th is a workshop. So if we can, it would be great to bring as many questions and comments as we can to the workshop so that we can all kind of hear them and kind of participate in them together. But again, that doesn't mean you can't. Just keep that in mind if you have any questions or comments that come up. Thanks.
Thank you, Derek. Any other staff reports? See none. Mayor, City Council comments. I'll just say, pleased to announce the opening of the theater on Wednesday. Pretty exciting for the city of McHenry, and look forward to seeing what that brings for the other businesses on Green, Riverside, and other downtown districts. So, very exciting. City Council comments? Anyone? Alderwoman Condon?
Several things. First, I want to publicly thank our Public Works Department. I know in my subdivision I heard them going by several times today. I know they were also out. We had a lot of snow, or had snow, ice, Christmas. I think they're often our unsung heroes and are called out in the middle of the night or early in the morning, and wanted to thank them for the work. I know it's their job, but it's they're often called out at unusual hours, and I appreciate the work that they're doing. The other thing I wanted to mention is we had talked during the budget process last year about marketing and social media for the city and having that. I know a lot of departments are doing things differently and have a presence, but I think it is really important that McHenry as a whole has a marketing plan with a social media marketing person designee, someone who is trained and an expert in that field. And we do have, as was just talked about, money in the hotel tourism fund, and I think that needs to take place sooner rather than later. And finally, I did want to make a comment about the consent agenda and the council minutes. And I guess not that I want to get into a debate, but I am surprised at Alderman Glab not approving of the minutes, and specifically I know that it's regarding to, I'm assuming, at least I shouldn't assume, but that it was regarding my status as being addressed as Alderwoman in the council minutes. And I think our attorney McCardle, sent all of us a very specific, researched letter stating that it is appropriate and I can be addressed as Alderwoman, and as I am called that in our minutes, that is appropriate. When the looking at the agenda, it announces in the beginning that council members, like as far as the roll call. Later on, during any vote, it is not addressed. I'm not addressed as Alderwoman for any of the votes. It's all by our last names. So I don't see any issue with me being appropriately called Alderwoman, as I am a woman. And I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention again. I appreciate the legal description, and I understand that when we go to ballot, that because of consistency, that the position is alderman legally, but I think it's also appropriate. We don't hear women being called congressmen. Now, they might run for congressman, but they are always addressed as congresswomen. I don't think that I'm asking for anything, nor do I think that it's inappropriate for the minutes to reflect the conversation of me being addressed as Alderwoman because I am a woman. So I just want to point that out.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Alderman Glab.
I'm not going to get into a spitting match, but I can tell you right now, it's been researched by our attorney. He did point out to me the fact that the term alderman is non-gendered. In other words, it doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, be a dog and run, but all I'm getting at is it is non-gender, and there is
That is
no
not
reason,
true.
I'm sorry, I've got the floor. There is no reason not to follow what state statutes point out as far as what is the official title. And that's my opinion. She gave her opinion, this is my opinion, and it is my judgment to vote the way I vote. I have every right to vote the way I vote, just like she has every right to vote the way she votes. And I have stated my opinion, and that's the fact that if it was to be changed in Springfield, as far as state statutes, I wouldn't have a problem getting it on board for that. But as long as it states in the state statutes what it is, that's what it is.
There's, Alderman Santi.
I change the subject. On the e-blast from last Friday, I noticed something very interesting in the Parks and Rec section in regards to, you had quite a large organization, this Northern United Football Club, which is a soccer club. It states 20 acres. We do have the capability of looking at something like that?
We do. We have, it was a meeting with myself, the mayor, the administrator, Parks Chair Schaefer was in attendance as well. Just conceptually looking at a concept there, they have been seeking to purchase land in some location, as well as to develop that land. And so the discussion was to the potential to enter into a partnership with them, similar to what we did with Field 2, where they would instead of having to purchase that land and spend the money on the land, they could spend that money on development. We could work on either a mutual use agreement, a shared use agreement, something along that lines that would allow them to have a soccer complex. I say complex, probably 5 fields in the Peterson Park area, contiguous to Peterson Park, with a master plan that we had looked at back in 2004 when we had acquired some property that is currently an existing farm lease.
And when you say Peterson Park, you're talking about the southern portion?
The southern portion, yes.
Great.
It was very preliminary talks at this point. There's a lot that, it was just again, a conceptual meeting to see to make sure that we're on the same page to even begin negotiations of anything along that lines. But it was a good opportunity, too good of an opportunity not to be able to sit down and talk with somebody about it.
Yeah, I would appreciate any updates on that when it comes through.
Absolutely.
Any other council comments? Alderwoman Condon?
Just one question, Attorney McCardle, are the minutes that we were presented tonight legally correct and allowable?
I didn't read them.
Okay, can you?
Sure. Which set of minutes are you talking about?
All of them refer to the attendance
you mean
as
on the-
council
yeah, okay, I
me as council member, and then voting just in the last name. Is that legal?
Legal. I gave you a letter that you referenced that indicates what I think is legal and what if I remember right, there was a lot of leeway in the use of the word alderwoman except when you get to the election process. That was my position.
So under those guidelines,
I think that's.
they would be legal and
Yes,
to be approved as presented.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other city council comments? Thank you. At this time, I'd ask the public, once we go into,
One more comment.
Alderman Glab.
Just the traffic, or I'm sorry, the speed limit sign on Dartmoor. If I could get Public Works to give me a little synopsis on the change that we made and the fact that we have a laser that flashes at the drivers now. I thought we were going to have it changed to where the speed limit sign was going to register the speed and then flash if they were going over. And it seems like instead of it flashing, we have a laser light that shines out at drivers as they're approaching that sign if they're speeding.
I'd have to follow up on. Yeah, it's on Dartmoor, and that's a white strobe that.
I think it might have been hit. I don't think that's a.
Okay.
I
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
LED display got hit.
Right.
This was brought up a couple days ago, and I do believe that's exactly what happened.
We'll look into it.
Is that what it is? Okay, so,
It might need to come down for repairs.
okay.
They're not manufactured to shoot lasers at people that speed.
I had 2 phone calls in the last 2 days about it, so I figured I better bring it up real quick.
I'll follow up on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Don't want to make Star Wars drive or something, you know?
At this time, I'd like to ask the public to please step out once we make a motion to enter executive session. You will be invited back in after we get out of executive session. So I appreciate you all coming. At this time, I'm looking for a motion to enter executive session for the purpose of 5 ILC S 122C21 for the semi-annual review of executive session minutes. Also 5 ILC S 122C5 for the purpose of lease of real estate property of use of the public body. And also 5 ILCS 122C3 for selection of a person to fill a vacancy in a public office. Alderman Santee?
I'll make that motion.
Second, please. Alderman Devine? Clerk, please call the roll.
Are we in executive session now?
No.
Go into executive
Oh,
session.
pardon me, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I misunderstood. Alderman Santee,
Yes.
Alderman Devine,
Yes.
Alderwoman Condon,
Yes.
Alderman Curry,
Yes.
Alderman Glab,
Yes.
Alderman Mahavik.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize.